everything you need to know about Beehive.
If you're thinking about hiking the Beehive in Acadia National Park, these are some things to know before you go. The Beehive is 520 feet. It's about half of the distance of the precipice, and it's the best alternative when the precipice is closed for the peregrine falcon nestings. I've hiked this trail in all 4 seasons, including solo, with my kids, and in groups, and it's a trail that people either really love or they quickly realize it's not what they expected. The Beehive climbs up the side of the mountain using iron rungs. It has narrow ledges and very exposed sections. It can be mentally challenging for people, especially if you have a fear of heights. If you just have a little bit of anxiety, I think you could push through it. One tip, if you're nervous and you're in a group, be the first person in your group to go up the rungs. This way, you're not waiting behind anybody on a rung, and then you can climb at your own pace and sort of get yourself in a section where you feel safe while you wait for the rest of your group to climb up. The best time to hike the Beehive is very early in the morning or late afternoon, like dinner time and later evening. If you go between, say, like 9:30 and probably like 3:30, you most likely will be standing in a line. It's like a conga line on the rungs. If that is the only time that you can go is in the afternoon, it's doable, but you just have to know that it's very crowded. It's kind of not really enjoyable. And if you have some anxiety about going up the rungs, if you're unsure about it, I think that the amount of people may actually add to it. Beehive Trailhead is right off of Sand Beach and the Park Loop Road. This is the most popular section of the park. That parking lot fills up the one-way section of Ocean Drive, which is essentially from Sand Beach all the way down to like Otter Cliffs. That whole one-way can get very, very crowded. So that's another reason why it's better to go in the morning. The other alternative is you can take the bus there. Island Explorer stops at Sand Beach. So if you're staying in downtown Bar Harbor, you could take the Island Explorer. You could park at the Visitor Center too and take the Island Explorer to Sand Beach. If, depending on the time of day, sometimes it's better to take the bus. It's not a long hike at all. From the trailhead at the Park Loop Road to the summit is just over a half a mile. It can take longer depending on your group size, and if you're standing in that line that I mentioned, then it will take you longer. Once you reach the top, the safest way to come down is to go down the backside of the mountain. The good news is Beehive, as well as Precipice, are not like Angel's Landing or Half Dome, where you need to go down the same way that you came. There's actually a trail that leads off of the backside of the Beehive, and that's the safer alternative. Instead of going down the rungs, you can make a loop that way, and it's really easy to connect. The best views are when you are hiking up the rung section. So you have views of Great Head, Sand Beach, Otter Cliffs, and Gorham. And also in the distance, you can see the Schoodic Peninsula. So a sunny bluebird day will have the best views, but that will also draw in more people to the hike. Sometimes an overcast, cloudy day, you may sacrifice views, but it may also have less people on the rungs. If it's raining, I would skip it entirely. The rungs and the rock can become slippery, and the risk just isn't worth it. I think kids hiking the Beehive is completely a personal choice. My daughter first hiked Beehive when she was 4, and my son hiked when he was 5. So I know that kids can do it, but I think it really depends not only on the child, but the parents' comfort level to bring them up there. Things to consider is how well they listen on a trail, how comfortable they are with heights, and also how comfortable they are scrambling on rocks. One tip I have if you're thinking about bringing your kids on Beehive is to hike Beach Cliffs Trail first. That is over by Echo Lake, and that also has ladders, but it doesn't have as much exposure. It would give you a good sense of how your kids might react though on being on rungs and ladders. The other tip I have, if you decide to take your kids up on Beehive, and if they're smaller like mine were, is to essentially you sandwich them on the rungs between you. So, and you take the rungs step by step. So this way you're directly behind them when you're on the rung section. And the other thing is, I always told my kids to hug the walls and stay close to the side of the mountain, and maintain 3 points of contact. There's definitely factors that make the Beehive unappealing to some people. It could be fear factor, it could be an age factor, or it could be that they simply just don't feel like hiking it that day. Here are some alternatives if someone in your group wants to hike Beehive and others do not. So the first thing is, if it's a really nice day, you can plan a beach day. So while some in the group go hike Beehive, the rest of the group can go hang out on the beach. This works best if you have chairs, towels, and even a few sand toys if you have children with you. Pack lunch, pack drinks, and make a day of it. Also, there are changing stations at Sand Beach. So when the group that is hiking Beehive is finished, you can actually change into bathing suits also and then meet the rest of your group on the beach. The changing stations work well for the beachgoers. If they're in the bathing suits, you can change back into regular clothes and still make a day exploring the rest of the park, and you don't have to be in your bathing suit. The second option that you can do is to meet at the bowl. The bowl is a body of water that sits between Beehive and Champlain Mountain. So you start the hike together. The group that wants to hike Beehive will venture off the Beehive turnoff, and then the rest of your group can continue on to the bowl. And the bowl is more of a moderate hike with still has a little bit of elevation gain, but not much. You know, when your group is finished at the Beehive, you all meet at the bowl, and then you can all continue on. You could hike to Champlain, you could come back and hike the loop to Gorham. There's a lot of options over there. The third option is your group can start hiking together. Part of your group goes up the rungs, and then the other part of your group can go up the backside of the Beehive and meet at the summit at the top. So personally, this is my least favorite option because the backside of the Beehive becomes very busy with people coming down. And honestly, the views are okay on the backside, but the best views, to be perfectly honest, are on the rungs. I kind of just don't think the aggravation of that many people coming off of Beehive is worth it to meet at the top. I hope this was helpful for your planning. If you've hiked Beehive and you loved it, let me know. If you've hiked it and you hated it, let me know. I'm going to link in the description a few other videos that might be helpful for planning. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed it.